Hello and welcome. This is the Wine Club Virtual Happy Hour with Clif Family Winery. My name is Brian O'Brien and I am joined by our winemaker, Laura Barrett. Laura, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. First, I want to do this. You just finished harvest,
Correct.
so you must be exhausted. Can we just get a cheers?
Absolutely.
Let's do cheers to 2022.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. What we're cheersing with is the first wine that we're going to be talking about today. And this video is to feature the September Wine Club shipment for the Wine Venture Club here at Clif Family Winery. We have 3 wines we're going to discuss today. I'm going to get our winemaker's notes and just kind of highlight the different aspects of these 3 different wines and just try to talk about it and educate you guys as much as we can. So, Laura, let's start off with this first sparkling wine. Now, the sparkling wine is always incredibly limited as far as how much quantity we have, but it's always incredibly popular. Tell us a little bit about this sparkling rosé.
Yeah, so the Sparkling Rosé has always been kind of a wine club special edition. We always make it in very small quantities. This particular offering is a non-vintage. It is a sparkling rosé, as you can see. That comes from a little bit of Pinot Noir in the base wine. And this comes from the Carneros AVA. So Carneros bridges both Napa County and Sonoma County. So you can say Los Carneros or just Carneros. But the vineyards that this wine is sourced from is in both Napa and Sonoma County. It's a very cool region, so we're making a very low alcohol, high acid base wine, and then it goes through the sparkling winemaking process, which is quite complex. This label is always really fun. People love this label for the holidays. We have the little bubble effects with the bicycle cogs, which carries in our cycling theme here at Clif Family Winery. And the timing of this release is always really nice too, because it's sort of the end of the summer. Really great, refreshing wine for the holiday table.
Getting into the holidays, everyone likes a good bottle of sparkling. And Carneros, what a beautiful region. It's one of my favorite areas in the entire Napa Valley to drive through. It's just magnificent to drive through, and as you mentioned, it's kind of that cooler climate. You know, I think of Carneros, I think of sparkling wine, I think of Chardonnay, I think of white wine, really. But again, this is an incredibly popular wine, but it's fairly limited. As far as I know, you pretty much have to be a wine club member to get this wine, right?
Yeah, that's true. You know, this particular year that we're offering this is a lower production than normal. Supply was limited, and we really only bottled enough for wine club shipments, but there is a tiny bit extra. So there is an opportunity to add on to a shipment or to call up and purchase, but the best way to guarantee yourself your allocation is through the wine club.
You heard it here. Join the wine club, or you might not be able to taste this incredible wine. So I'm going to just go ahead and give it a quick taste. What I love about the traditionally made sparkling wines is how fine the bubbles are. You know, that's how you can really tell a fine, really high quality sparkling wine, some of those kind of imitations, if you will. The gentle color, as you mentioned, Pinot Noir is where that color comes from. But is this mainly Chardonnay?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so what I love about tasting sparkling wine is we're always talking about the balance of alcohol and acidity and tannin. And of course there's more tannin in red wine than there is in white wine. But when you're evaluating a sparkling wine, you then have the carbonation effect as well. So the carbonation, how that feels on your palate, is another factor. And they all have to kind of come into balance and come into play. We also, the dosage portion of the winemaking in sparkling wine is the addition of a little bit of sugar when you're topping up the bottle after you disgorge. So we play around with that last blending tool of how much sugar to add, because there's actually more sugar than you might think in sparkling wine, because again, we're balancing that low alcohol, high acid, and the bubbles effect on your palate. So there's a lot going on here, very complex, and when they all come into balance, it can be a really nice experience.
One of the things that I found fascinating when kind of learning about wine was the fact that any wine that is converted into sparkling wine needs to be harvested at a lower Brix level or a lower sugar level because it goes through 2 fermentations. And I said, well, why would you do that? And it's because if you have too much alcohol after the first fermentation, that alcohol will kill the yeast in the second fermentation. Do I have that correct?
That is true. Yes. Yes.
I just found it fascinating.
Think stylistically, you know, when we're trying to have all these different flavor profiles coming into play, the low alcohol has always been, I think, traditional. But yes, that is true. High alcohol, you know, that's how we end up with stuck fermentations in red wine, because we have too high alcohol and the yeast die. So definitely a true fact. But I think at this level, yeast can ferment up to, depending on the yeast, we actually often select our yeast based off of their alcohol tolerance. Now we're getting into the real kind of science.
Hey, that's cool with me.
So depends on the yeast that you're using and how alcohol tolerant they are, some more, some less.
And you mentioned that the dosage, which is the addition of sugar at the end of the process, but just to be clear, this is brut. This is a dry sparkling wine.
It is. It is. This is a Brut Rosé, and it does feel dry on your palate. It doesn't taste sweet by any means. But you do feel a little bit, I think, of the sugar for me on the very front of my palate, whereas the bubbles and the acid kind of fill in the back.
I think it's absolutely spectacular. I always buy a case of this wine whenever I can, every release. And this year, I might be able to still do that. But again, this is our non-vintage Brut Sparkling Rosé. Absolutely unbelievable. If you haven't picked up your wine club shipment, come down to the tasting room and pick up your bottle today. And if you want this and you're not a wine club member, maybe think about joining one of those wine clubs. Okay, let's get to the second wine. This one is our 2021 Oak Knoll Sauvignon Blanc. Now this comes from our newest vineyard, the Oak Knoll Vineyard, and this one is really a polar opposite to the sister, the Root Blanc, our New Zealand style Sauv Blanc. Laura, tell us about the 2021 Oak Knoll Sauvignon Blanc.
So this wine and this bottling is really exciting for us because it's the very first release from our new property. We purchased 80 acres of land on the valley floor in the Oak Knoll district. And the Oak Knoll district is where our previous Oak Knoll Sauvignon Blanc came from. We were just purchasing the grapes. Now we have our own estate vineyard, which gives us complete control over the growing season. And most importantly, it allows us to farm organically, which is a critical piece of our business. So 2021 was the first fruit harvested off of this new property. And this is really fun for me to taste right now because I've been tasting 2022 Sauvignon Blanc for the last few weeks.
Grapes.
And even this morning I was into the finished wines in the barrels. So it's really, really beautiful to taste this finished wine. So this particular wine, as it compares to the Root Blanc, I try to make a little bit riper. So I want to pick it with a little bit higher bricks, which in turn gives it about 1% more alcohol, or 0.5%. I also use 100% French oak on this wine, but it's only about 10% new. So I find my really old, neutral white barrels, whereas the Root Blanc sees a lot more stainless steel. This sees no stainless steel, so no tank and no stainless steel barrels. I do a lot of lees stirring. So we have the oak, we have the ripeness, we have the little extra alcohol, we have the lees contact, really develops the mid palate, and it's really it's so beautiful right now.
Absolutely, and you know, compared to the sister, the Root Blanc, 100% oak versus like an unoaked program, drastically different wines. Two identical grapes, really, two completely different glasses of wine.
Yeah, and I think the important piece there, when people hear 100% oak, they think they're hearing 100% new oak, but the really important differentiation is that the oak barrel as a vessel, as opposed to anything stainless steel, whether it's a stainless steel drum, a stainless steel small 400-gallon porta-tank, or a very large stainless steel tank, it's a completely anaerobic environment, so no air whatsoever. Whereas in a barrel, you get this delicate oxidation, you get a little bit of oxygen permeating through the stave of the barrel that facilitates all this chemical reaction in the wine in a very, very controlled and slow way. And it's really about the vessel and not about the influence of new oak aroma or flavor on the wine.
And you mentioned this is French oak. You know, we have American oak that we use in winemaking and French oak. And French oak, generally speaking, has a much more delicate flavor associated with it compared to the American oak that most California wines are aged in. And as you mentioned, 100% oak, but only 10% new oak. So that means you hear 100% oak, you think, wow, this is going to really punch you in the face with some oak flavor, but it really doesn't. It's really gentle. It's really well balanced. This is a spectacular wine. It's been a favorite of mine. Sauv Blanc is just becoming more and more a favorite wine of mine. The Root Blanc this year, unbelievable. I'm still enjoying that, even though it's as summer wine as you can get. But this one is perfect for the holiday season. A little bit more oakiness, a really food-friendly white wine, and just that perfect amount of oak.
Yeah, this is tasting so nice right now. It has this really bright kind of puckering acidity on the edges, so you feel it like along the side of your mouth. But then it completely fills in as the wine is in your mouth for a moment. And then after you swallow it, it has like this, it fills in with a little bit of tannin, which comes perhaps from the oak, but mostly because of the whole cluster pressing and the skin contact as you're doing that. And it fills in with a little bit of tannin, a lot of richness, and then kind of finishes back, kind of resonates with that acidity again. It's really a lovely balance on the palate.
Just like all your wines, incredibly well balanced as well. So that is our 2021 Oak Knoll Sauvignon Blanc, which again is from our new shiny toy, our Oak Knoll Vineyard. And in fact, as far as shiny toy go, we're actually in our new conference room space, which is another new shiny toy of ours. We have our new Enoteca private tasting salon right next door, our new offices right over here. So talk about shiny toys, we're in one right now. Anything else to say about the Sauv Blanc?
I think that's it. Everyone needs to taste it and drink it and see how it pairs with your Thanksgiving dinner, and it's going to be a great winter white, no doubt.
This one isn't as limited supply as the Sparkling Brut Rosé, so you can get yours today here at our tasting room, our Enoteca, or online. Or if you are so wishing, Wine Club. Wine Club. We can send it to anywhere around the country. Okay, let's get into kind of the big dog here. This is we're getting into, it's red wine season, right? We're officially in winter. Harvest is officially over, so it's time for you to kind of take a breath, I'd say, and start to enjoy some red wine. Now, this Kit's Killer Cab is one of our Cabernet programs, and it's named after our owner, Kit Crawford, whose favorite grape is the Cabernet grape. But this is a very special wine. Tell us about this 2019 Kit's Killer Cab.
So we've been making Kit's Killer Cab since day one. It's been kind of an anchor in our portfolio along with Gary's Improv. I like to call it one of our flagship wines because it bears Kit and Gary's names. This vintage was, 2019 was an excellent vintage. It was a lot warmer than 18. It was really consistent. We didn't have any sort of season-ending rain. We were allowed to really kind of let the grapes have ample hang time. So quite a nice growing season, and one I think that will go down as a great vintage. And then the Kit's Killer Cab is always a blend of our two Howell Mountain vineyards, so the Cold Springs and the Croquet. And this particular year, people will notice that it's actually appellated Napa Valley. And that is a progression towards allowing, the blending of some of our fruit from the Oak Knoll vineyard. So we have some really great Cabernet growing down on the valley floor now that we will incorporate into Kit's Killer Cab, so it will have a little bit of both. So this is just kind of a fun offering of like our entire estate Cabernet blend, both on the hill and on the valley floor, and they complement each other in a really nice way.
The two single vineyard, let's say, sisters of this wine are $150 each. So the fact that this bottle's $75 a bottle and highlights all three of our Cabernet program vineyards, our Oak Knoll, our Croquet, and our Cold Springs vineyard, and it has Kit's name on it. It's going to sell out fast, and it's definitely worth it. What do you have for tasting notes on this one?
This one is evolving in the glass just as we sit here. At first, when we first opened it, I got a lot more red fruit, and now it's going down the darker fruits. I got a lot of, it's kind of brambly.
Sure.
And on the palate, tannin is very present. Howell Mountain Cab, the berries are very, very small. We had a huge amount of tannin, but it's always very approachable tannin. It's not aggressive. It's not really, really dry. It tends to just fill the mid palate, but it's very present and definitely a defining feature of this wine.
One of our most popular wines, I'd say. I have collected this wine. I mean, I became a Chima member with Clif family in 2018, and I've just been collecting our library wines ever since then. Which, speaking of, we have a new collectors club called the Collectors Circle. If any of you are interested, we have a few more spots to fill on that, but it features our library Cabernets, specifically ones that Laura herself picked out. I love this cab. Kids Killer Cab has always been a favorite of mine. It can go well with a pasta, with a steak, and it's also just great outside, to end a day with a nice glass of Napa Cab. And I like that we're kind of bringing it not completely outside of Howell Mountain. Howell Mountain's still absolutely present, as you mentioned, the tannins, but we're bringing in our new Oak Knoll Vineyard. The Oak Knoll Vineyard is just spectacular. I walked it with you, and you told me that. Let me see if I can remember this. The grapes that we're growing on that property, we have all 5 Bordeaux Reds, which is Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec, Petit Verdot, and Cab Franc. We also have Viognier and Zinfandel. Did I get them all?
No, you missed quite a few. Petit Syrah. And you missed Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc.
Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. See, it's hard to keep track of them. 80 acres, magnificent space there in Oak Knoll. Just such a beautiful new addition to our winery.
And one of the things that I love about the Oak Knoll Cabernet as I become more familiar with it, this is just my second year working with the Oak Knoll Cab, but it has such refreshing acidity. So it's warm enough that you can get the ripeness, and it's on the cooler side of the valley. It's not as hot as Calistoga, but the cooler nights and just the soil down there and the climate keeps the acidity really high. So when we're ripe, we still have really nice freshness, and that is very present in this blend.
It's incredible. I love this wine. All right, and that's our 2019 Kids Killer Cab. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining me today. Any parting words for our club members or future club members?
Oh goodness! Just enjoy your wines. I think one of the wonderful things about this club is that you get just a few bottles of many different varietals. So it gives you the opportunity to explore different wines. It's not like you're getting flooded with just Cabernet and Chardonnay year round. So open them up and drink them, and call us up if you love them. And happy holidays.
As she mentioned, these are our seasonal wine venture wines in the shipment. This is our September shipment we're tasting through. 2 bottles of the non-vintage Brut Rosé, 2 bottles of the Oak Knoll Sauvignon Blanc, and 2 bottles of the Kids Killer Cab. And that's at that 20% discount that you got as a wine venture wine club member. That is a seasonal, you're getting 4 shipments a year of 6 bottles, so it's only 2 cases a year of some of the most spectacular seasonal wines Napa can offer. Laura, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers, you all. Have a happy holidays, and keep enjoying that wine. Thanks.